I think that the title of the album actually has a few different meanings, kind of depending where your perspective was. I mean, my perspective personally was physically, you know, I'm a drummer and a musician, so of course I travel a lot, so my life is literally in two lanes, and then there's that other side, which is, you know, the kind of metaphorical side, of course, which is, you know, for me, around the time writing this album, you know, lyrically, one of those lyrics actually fell in to the track, which is the song Mind Reader. And I felt that kind of fitted really perfectly into the meaning of that lyric, which was, you know, when you're kind of the only provider almost, you know, you're kind of the bread keeper of the family, you have to kind of keep everything afloat, you know, so, you know, you have to try and keep everyone happy almost, you know, so whether it's family, friends, relationships, marriage, you know, all this stuff, you know, working relationships, it's all trying to keep it afloat. So it is just like, and you almost do put on kind of a different act almost. I mean, I always try and stay the same for who I am, but the truth of it all is, you know, if you met the king, you wouldn't, you know, speak to the king the way that you'd speak to a mate, for example. You know, you kind of do have to put on like different outfits almost. So that's kind of what the title was about, just being yourself in many different ways. Well, this album is a lot more upbeat, I think, than any other record that I've done before. I mean, the first two albums are almost tarnished, almost. I mean, especially the first one, as being breakup albums, you know, because you listen to the lyrics and it's obvious that I was going through something, you know. And I think I still had a couple of those songs left over for this album, but this album's certainly a lot more upbeat. You know, I was working with a lot of drum machines, a lot of electronic drums, a lot of synthesizer sounds. I mean, a lot of guitar sounds too, but often in like major keys. So it's a lot more happy, you know, and it also, you know, defines where you're at in life. I mean, I'm happily married, you know, I've got a wonderful dog, which is, you know, actually what the song Go Loco is about, you know, which not many people believe that, you know, when they listen to the first track of the album. That the idea is that I give a perspective that the song's about. It's basically like a high school crush, you know, that she's not giving me this attention and I really want it, and it's, you know, please just, you know, something like that. But really, it's actually a song about my dog, so it's an interesting one. But no, I think it's very different from the last albums. It's a lot more upbeat, a lot more fresh, a better stereo sound, you know, and I think just an overall better record. Well, this album was basically recorded in loads of different stages. I found that after my second release, Any Given Situation, I got writer's block for the longest time, and I kind of kept myself busy. You know, I got engaged early 2022, and also was in like 3 or 4 different bands touring about and stuff. So I actually didn't really have time to sit down and record and focus on all that stuff. Until 2023, I moved from kind of one part of England to another part. You know, I now live in Norfolk with my wife, and when we moved into this place, we had a spare room which I turned into a studio, and even just having the studio set out with, you know, electric drums, all the guitars and banjos and basses and the keyboards and the synthesizers, it just kind of helped along the way. So for the first time ever, I ended up recording all the instrumental parts without having any lyrics to it. And then the lyrics kind of just came, really. I mean, I think it was 2023 when I moved into Norfolk, and then by early 2024, that's when the lyrics, I think, started to kind of come about. But it didn't really get recorded properly until 2025, you know, around the same time I did my EP. But yeah, so it definitely took a few years to make and actually finally get along. But I wanted a theme for the album as well, which is different to the last ones, which is hot. It's got to be a hot album. It's got to have a positive vibe, you know, which is a rare thing in this day and age, you know, because there's so much negativity around. That sometimes if you listen to a happy song and you're in a happy mood, it'll make you happier, you know. It's one of those things. For me, I feel like I'm always trying to evolve musically. I'll spend hours, you know, playing the piano and just, experimenting, if you like. But for this album particularly, those kind of the demo processes really just started like that, just playing about, and it was always about the kind of the mood of the thing, and that's kind of where it came about, you know. Whereas before it was, you know, on the past 2 albums, it was just, you know, having lyrics and putting them to the music, which I'd had some ideas in my head, but often they wouldn't come out as good as I'd hoped. Whereas this one's it's a lot more fresh and a lot more feel good. But no, I mean, I think the overall balance, I think, of trying to find a new sound versus an old sound. I mean, I'm always trying to evolve. I'm always trying to get that bigger sound and more a kind of feeling and emotional sound more than anything else. I want people to be able to feel the music and relate to it. You know, I don't want just anything putting out. You know.
I've been thinking I oughta.
Influences. I mean, the whole thing was kind of jammed, really. But if I was going to put it down to any influences, it would be from my original influences. You know, like Martin Knopfler and Dire Straits certainly have a bit of an influence. You know, definitely 80s. I think I wanted to go for a more 80s vibe with this album. And yeah, so I mean, Phil Collins, you know, kind of one of my 80s heroes and one of my heroes in general. And No More More, you know, I discovered No More More in 2025. I was really late to the game. So there's a little bit of kind of that sound, of kind of falsetto. And the song Vibing is really, it's trying to be a No More track, really. It's really chilled and slow and then leads to something exciting. But so yeah, I mean, I'd say I have influences, but there wasn't a strong influence for this record in particular. I was just kind of going with the flow. I just want to keep writing. You know, I found that ever since I kind of started this journey back in 2019, and then my first album came out in 2020. Around all the time that the world started to change, and I found myself being more of a solo artist than anything else. You know, solo artist and part-time drummer, and it used to be that the Tom Brooker stuff was kind of in the background, kind of as my mistress, and then drumming was my wife. But now I find that my solo career as Tom Brooker is my wife, and drumming is my mistress, because I've just found this place for songwriting that I never thought I'd have. I find myself writing songs almost every day, you know, and not full songs. You know, I'll write a few lines of lyrics or something like that. So I just want to kind of keep it moving, you know, and every album's got to be different in their own way, because I don't want it. I mean, I have my own sound, and people kind of know what that sound is, you know. Even a lot of people say it's kind of verging on the 1975 Our City, which again are kind of more of my influences. But really, I just kind of sound like I sound, you know. There's no other way to describe it than when I play something, I sound like me. So every album's going to have kind of that sound, but yeah, I still want it to be different in its own way, different styles, textures, different genres, you know, and just to basically keep it moving. So yeah, so I mean, I haven't really started any work on my next album yet, but I also want to do a live stream or two. I'm thinking about putting a big live stream out this summer. Apart from that, you know, carry on drumming. You know, the pedalboard stuff is great. It keeps me busy, and me and Chris work so well together. It's just easy, you know. I'm also in, you know, right now I'm in Flashback Photograph, which we do gigs, so people can still see me live if they want to see me perform drums. But I find the live stream thing helps massively, and I've done it a couple of times before. But this one I think will be recorded, so they can hear different versions of the songs, you know, because I always like to change things up. You know, I don't want it exactly like the record, especially I don't have a band, you see, my own band, so I like doing things stripped back, kind of, you know, more acoustic centre, stripped back versions of my own songs, and it creates a completely different dynamic as well. And I love it. You know, it's all that. That's, to me, that's what music is about. You know, it's all. If you want to listen to the original, go and listen to the original. But if you want to listen to the live version, it's bound to be different. So so that's what I'm aiming towards for the future.
Won't you call me back just to tell me what you want? I can tell you what I want if you tell me what you want. Won't you call me back just to tell me what you want?